Hey everybody, today we are going to learn the beginning fundamentals of how to start a model in Maya. Previously, we have looked at polygons and some modeling methods, but now we're going to look more into modeling workflow when starting the creation of a model. And to begin, we're going to use a functionality called image planes within Autodesk Maya. And an image plane is essentially an orthographic view that is drawn by the user. And here I found this orthographic view of a robot online, and you can see that it's pretty proportional. They have used graph paper, grid paper, so that the units do match, and if I put them side by side, they would match up to one another. The more orthographic views you have, the better. And this is basically the starting point of what you need. It's good to have at least a front and a side view to start. Having a top view or a bottom view is also very helpful. Again, this is depending on if your character is symmetrical, and if it's asymmetrical, you may need to do a little more adjusting. Overall, we want to get just the basic shell of this character out. So let's go ahead and start. What I'm going to do is open up Autodesk Maya, and I'm going to go to my orthographic views. Now to do that, as I mentioned in earlier videos, you hit spacebar, and by hovering over the specific orthographic view, top, front, side, or perspective, you can go ahead and hit spacebar again and it will go to that. If you'd like to change what view you see in what panel, simply go to the Panels menu and select the panel. In this case, I could turn this one to perspective, or I could go back to orthographic and change it to top. So those are very easily customizable to your workflow. All right, let's start in the front view. So I'm going to go to the bottom left-hand side, and I'm going to hit the spacebar key to activate the full screen view. Now I need to add an image plane. An image plane is essentially a projection from your camera that will be used as a reference guide for when you're modeling. So one of the first things I can do to add an image plane, and there's many ways to do this, is simply go to the panel I want to add the image plane in and say View, Image Plane, Import Image. When I do that, I'm going to navigate to my desktop where my image is held, and I'm going to select the front image to match the front panel of the perspective view. I'm going to go ahead and hit Open after selecting front and load the image plane into my viewport. I'm going to hit spacebar, and at this point, now I can move on to the side image plane. I'm going to highlight over side, hit spacebar, and then repeat the steps that I did in the front viewport. So I'm going to hit View, Image Plane, Import Image, and I'm going to navigate to the desktop and hit Side. Now, once your side is in, we want to line these images up because the pictures may not exactly line up. So navigating back to your perspective view, I want you to find a base point where you can line these up. In this case, I'm going to use the hip bone, and I'm going to use my W key to kind of nudge those into one another. I tend to move my side view to penetrate the front view, and you can see here they don't exactly line up, but by starting to nudge the side view, I can get some connection points that really work with the piece. And again, they're not going to be perfect. This is just a reference point, and we will be able to adjust this as we go and model. So again, you can see they rounded it here, but it's not so rounded over here. Their drawings are a little bit inaccurate, but the main part is we want to get some of those main connection points to kind of line up, which again, seemingly they are doing. So I know we're going to start with the center body to begin with, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's exactly where I want it. Looks great. Now I'm going to marquee my two image planes, and I want to lock them down on the screen. Now to do this, we're going to use our channel box. And remember, our channel box is the far right-hand element, show and hide channel box. At the bottom of the channel box, we have some options. One of the options is a tab that says Display. When you have your object selected, simply go to the Display tab and navigate to the small item that has a blue ball on it. And with objects selected, that will add them to a layer. And now I'm going to double click on this layer and name these image planes. And I'm going to make them yellow, something bright I can see, and hit save. Now when I click away, you can see they're outlined by yellow. If I look at the second box of the image plane and the third box, you can notice that I can click on these elements. I want to set the empty third box to the letter R. R means I will not be able to grab them and they will no longer be selectable. It's mainly for reference. So that's good for me so I don't accidentally move the image planes as I model. Now I'm ready to model. So the first thing we need to do is look at the front view, and I'm going to start in the front view, and find a shape that is very close to the center chest piece of this character. Now I'm going to go ahead and just use a cube to show you that any shape can be used. And I'm going to be solely in front view for the first couple minutes. So I'm going to start by just aligning my box. And some people do this different ways. I tend to grab the box and attempt to try to scale it to fit inside the piece. This helps a little bit. And now we can get kind of going. Now realistically, this looks like it would be a pretty good option for a cylinder. So a cube may not work, but we can come back and fix that later on. Now, I want to see how many planes I have, and I'm not going to start with the default, so I'm going to go to my channel box, I'm going to go to Inputs, and I'm going to click on the word Polycube 1. With that, I'm going to change my subdivisions to 5 in each direction, and that's going to give me a really nice starting point. Even maybe something a little less than that would work, but 5 is a good starting point. I'm going to turn my wireframe on shaded on so you guys can see. And I'm going to begin just by manipulating the vertices. And by doing that, I'm just going to simply use my scale tool and scale them in one single direction. And my goal for this is to make an attempt to follow the contour of the chest bone or the chest plate for this robot. And as you can see, it starts to come together really well and really quickly. Now, do not go and jump into perspective mode just yet. Start by playing just with these. Now, when you get to a certain point, you're going to have to extrude faces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my faces, and I have my center faces turned on, which allows me to kind of select the bottom. If I don't have those center faces turned on, I can use my paint selection tool and look at the bottom here and just kind of grab and by dragging over those faces, and it tends to really be nice because you only grab what you see. And one more, a couple more faces, there we go. Spacebar, cut over. Again, to turn center faces on, you go to your animation preferences, selection, and turn on select faces with center. Make sure you hit save when you're done. So I'm going to hit spacebar, and I'm going to utilize my extrude tool. I'm going to do that by going to the modeling toolkit, because extrude is selected in there. And I'm going to hit the extrude button. You can also find extrude under edit mesh extrude. And I'm going to hit, once I have that, the center point and pull down. Now, I can continue to use my extrude tool multiple times by hitting the G key. And I just keep hitting the center like moon button to center the pivot, and I continue to work downward. One more time, I'm going to hit the G key to repeat the last command, hit the little moon button, scale or translate down, and then scale inward until we get the shape we're looking for. And then we want to do a similar situation to the top. So I'm going to grab those, and I can grab those very easily just by marqueing. This is one of the cool things about not turning on whole face. So even though I'm in these front faces, as long as the little nubs and the little dots are selected, it doesn't grab the face. So I'll hit extrude here, center the pivot. I'm going to roll up, scale in. And that leaves me with something pretty easily blocked out. So let's go to our view, and we can see that we have, though it's rough, the blocked out torso of our character. And it's pretty proportional. So the next step we would have to do is start dealing with the outside or the side view. Now the side view can be a little tricky. So we're going to start by playing with the sides, and we could do the same technique as we did in the last one. We can grab our faces and we can extrude, and sometimes this will work. So we can hit the scale button and scale them down. You can see at this point it gets a little rough. So what I'm going to do in this model is I'm actually going to use the perspective and the side view, and I'm going to just make sure that we're looking at the same side because that's very important. In this case, it's the front, as you can see. And I'm going to grab some of the edges. And I usually start with grabbing the center edges. Here we go. And hit W, start pulling those out. And this is a slow, methodical process. Now, if we had started with something, for instance, like a cylinder, we may already have this shape. So in this case, I have a lot of extra work to do in the sense of just pushing and pulling. So here we go. So hit W. You can see I can start making that shape. And that's really the basic image plane structure of creating image plane. So I'm going to leave you there for now. And basically it's just a series of fine-tuning edges and smoothing out your corners and whatnot. And again, it's a tedious process, but this will eventually get you the shape that you're looking for. And that is the basics of image planes. Again, if we started with an image of, or a cylinder, that would be the best point here. We would have a lot less curvature to deal with. So keep that in mind when you start your shape. And it's okay to go back and restart a shape, considering that, as you can see here, if I do maybe, let's do 5 again, this shape will already have its kind of curvature that we're looking for. And I'm going to use the scale again, and you can see it immediately kind of gives us what we're looking for. So image planes are a great way for the beginning and the advanced modeler to have a reference point, so you're not modeling without any direction, and really allows the user to expand their complexity of their model due to the fact that we have a lot of really nice images. And again, you can see with the right shape and right initial shape selection, we can do a lot of really organic objects rather quickly. We can still use the same techniques we saw in the other cube technique that I mentioned earlier. So you just have to pick whatever shape your initial shape is close to. I'm going to go back to vertex mode, and I'm going to start modeling it out. You can see here, now we're getting somewhere. There we go. So now we would go to the side view and work off that, and it would be a lot easier. In this case, the front view, I should say, because we were working in the side view. And the front view is going to be a heck of a lot easier because it is a curved shape. Hit this, hit some of these. Go. There we go. There we go. And there you go. So spend the time on your pre-production. It will pay off in the end, and it will allow you to get some really, really nice objects within your piece. And there is a lot smoother version of our torso chest piece. If I hit the V here in the visibility, you can see it in its full glory. So again, I have some work to do. I have to fix some of these lines. For instance, some of these vertices I would go in and kind of straighten out, make them nice and smooth with the topology. But overall, it's a pretty good starting point for modeling. So hopefully you've learned and you utilize image planes. That's it for this lesson. I will see you guys next time.